can't just reach a point of stasis and expect it to be forever. And in fact, if it were, I don't think life would be as interesting. I think change can be a positive thing. But I think as human beings, we have sort of a natural tendency to fear change. I think that's part of what's going on right now.
Well, you just gave me a great image for a graphic to explain something I've wanted to say for a long time. I've always said that every human being is like a cell in a body. And the trick is to be what you are. I mean, if you're a liver cell and you're trying to be a kidney cell, the body's not going to work. You know, so be that which brings you joy. That's how you know what kind of cell you are. But I had this image of a body going on a vacation, like going over to Europe, and one part wants to go see the Vatican, another part wants to go see something in Germany, and they're kind of fighting. They say, well, let's just split up. We'll get back together later and tell everyone what we saw. So then all of a sudden this body would become like a million little people going off in a million directions, and then kind of forgetting that they were all that one body at one point. And at some point beginning to meet up and go, hey, you seem real familiar, you know, and connect. And then pretty soon, like pieces of a puzzle, like when you're doing the Christmas puzzle that everyone always gives you, with 2,000 pieces in it, you know, it takes you a week to do. It all starts to come together, and it all recoagulates back into one body, which I think is what we're doing right now.
And how wonderful is a metaphor, because how much more joy the fact that we did take the time to go out into 7 billion different places. So when we come back, we have so much more to share.
Exactly. I often thought that the whole thing started, God was the monad, the one. God wanted to know itself, but to know yourself, there has to be a knower and a self that's known, which then required God to split into two. And so we get this duality that we all experience. And then we're all part of that. It's almost like, I'm going to send you over there and have that experience. I want you to go over there and have the heroin experience. I want you to go over there and live in a monastery. And we'll all get back together later and we'll kind of compare notes about what it was. It's like God wanting to experience everything. And I once had this in my meditation. I remember Salvador Dali's mustache, this big, long mustache. And it reminded me of, like, if you see a child, if you have a child at home, you don't notice they're growing. And then their aunt comes a year later and says, oh my God, you've grown a foot. Well, you didn't notice it because a little bit. And this mustache was pretty bizarre. But if you started it and just let it grow and grow and grow and grow, you probably didn't notice how bizarre it was becoming. And it was almost like God had to take everything to the worst extreme possible just to see what that was like, you know, as an experiment. And then to find out, well, that worked, that didn't, this felt good, that didn't. And now it's all coming back together in this unification that's occurring, this one cosmic consciousness. To me, it's a wonderful adventure. And, you know, on a personal level, but going back to 2012, my #1 priority is stay alive. I mean, I'm eating well, exercising, you know. I want to be here for the transformation.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is, I think, the most exciting moment in human history, and possibly in the entire history to come. If this really is the pivot that people have been saying it might be, what's going to happen, not just for the next 1,000 years, but possibly the next 1,000,000 years, is going to be determined right now. So you've never been as important as you are today. Your great-great-great-great-grandparents and everyone else, I mean, we're all important, but 1,000 years ago, what we did as a human species wasn't really that important in terms of the entire universe. It is today, because literally what is going to happen to this planet will be determined by our own thoughts, actions, and deeds. And so I'm just very grateful to have people like Jack Canfield who can make some positive contributions. I think it's just a lot of fun to be a human being right now. I think there are major challenges, but the challenges are part of the fun. And in terms of your metaphor, you say you've just started to study the Kabbalah. I actually represent some of the Kabbalah teachers, and what you're describing is actually what the Kabbalah says, that the shattering of the Godhead, if you will, into a trillion forms, and then what our purpose is to reconstitute that one form. The difference is, and I'm not sure the Kabbalists are aware of this, I think you may have added some insight here, is when we come back together in this unity consciousness, we also bring back our personalities, which just enhance it. Because now you have that same unity consciousness, but you have 7 billion experiences that can be shared.
Yeah, it's kind of God's own enlightenment, if you will.
I think so, because the way I talk about it is we're all particles and we're all waves. As particles, we have our individual personalities, but as the wave, we're all one. And we're literally one being.
It's true. I like that. Einstein 101, but I like it.
Anyway, it's just such a pleasure. I'm just so grateful to get to spend some time with you and your wonderful home here.
Always.
And hopefully we'll get back together sooner than 2 or 3 years. We got to meet more often.
I look forward to that.
Okay. Well, for Planet Change 2012, Signing off, William Gladstone, author of The 12. Everyone who has not already gotten a copy of Jack's most recent book, The Success Principles, you should get it. Jack has so much wisdom here and in his other books. You're really missing out if you don't get to know Jack Canfield better. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you'll be tuning in to future episodes of the 2012 Chronicles.